They kept talking trash about you and forgot the crowd was watching them, not you. They really never noticed the giant standing behind you, and that's the funniest part of this whole mess. They were so busy pointing fingers, whispering stories, and acting important that they forgot one tiny detail. People have eyes. And people are not stupid. Oh, look at them. Still talking, still repeating, still hoping the lie magically sticks this time. It won't. Here's the naughty little truth they hate. Lies don't die because someone exposes them. Lies die because they get boring. And your enemies made theirs boring by trying too hard. Too many words, too much emotion, too much obsession. Meanwhile, you stayed quiet, still, calm. And that calm didn't make you look weak. It made them look ridiculous. Now imagine this for a second. Chosen one. Picture a street performer screaming for attention, waving their arms, begging people to stop and listen. Right next to them stands a massive statue, silent, unmoving, heavy. At first, everyone looks at the noise. Then, slowly, eyes drift to the statue. Because real presence doesn't beg. Real power doesn't chase. And once people notice the difference, the performer becomes background noise. That's exactly what happened here. Here's a fact that slaps hard. Human brains are wired to distrust emotional overload. When someone sounds angry, desperate, or obsessed, listeners feel discomfort even if they can't explain why. They start scanning for motive instead of truth. That's psychology, not opinion. Another fact: repeated accusations actually lower credibility over time. The more a story is forced, the more people subconsciously resist it. That resistance is already happening in your favor. Oh, look at them. They thought volume was power. They thought repeating the same tired line would hypnotize the room. They really believed people would stop thinking just because the story was loud enough. Cute mistake. What they didn't realize is that people stopped listening a long time ago. Not because you defended yourself, not because you cried or begged, but because the lies sounded stupid next to your steady face and your unchanged life. Before we go further, Chosen One, pause with me for a moment. If this message feels like it's peeling the curtain back on your situation, pay it forward. Hit like, subscribe, help push this message to others who are still doubting themselves because someone else won't shut up. This isn't about clout. It's about spreading clarity. You're part of a force that disrupts nonsense. Thanks for standing in that lane. Now let's get back to the carnage. Here's the truth bomb they choke on. People don't judge stories first. They judge behavior. They watch who looks calm and who looks cracked. They notice who keeps bringing your name up unprovoked. They notice who smiles naturally and who forces it. They notice who keeps changing details. And once that pattern clicks, the story is already dead. No announcement needed. Your silence didn't confuse people, it educated them. Silence forces observers to think, and thinking is dangerous for liars. When you didn't react, they had to keep performing alone, talking to themselves, explaining unasked questions, filling the room with unnecessary noise. That's when the crowd starts leaning back and thinking, why are they so bothered? Here's another uncomfortable truth. Smear campaigns only work on insecure audiences. Confident people trust their own perception, and the more confident someone is, the less they tolerate drama. The audience around you matured while your enemies stayed stuck in middle school tactics. That gap is obvious now. They never noticed the giant behind you because giants don't announce themselves. Giants don't clap back. Giants don't run damage control. Giants let time stretch the contrast until it becomes embarrassing. And now that contrast is brutal. You look composed. They look messy. You moved forward. They stayed obsessed. People aren't buying the lies being said about you because the energy doesn't match the accusation. The tone feels off. The emotion feels rehearsed. And deep down, even the ones who smiled politely know something's wrong. They're not defending you out loud yet, but they're watching, quietly judging, recalculating who they trust. This is the part where the villain smirks and tells the truth without raising their voice. You didn't win because you were louder. You won because you were heavier, more grounded, more real. They swung at air while you stood like gravity itself. And now they're stuck explaining why the hit never landed. They really never noticed the giant standing behind you. Now the room sees it. And there's no way to unsee that. Chosen one, stay right here. What you just heard wasn't the story, it was the warning shot. The noise, the whispers, the fake confidence from people who can't stop saying your name. That was the warm-up. What comes next is the part they really don't want you to understand, because once you see it clearly, their lies lose whatever weak grip they had left. This isn't entertainment, this is pattern recognition. And once a pattern is exposed, it can never scare you again. If you're locked in, mark this moment. Drop 77 in the comments as a signal. Not for anyone else, for yourself. It's a line in the sand that says, I see what's happening and I'm not falling for it anymore. And if you feel it in your chest right now, if this message feels uncomfortably accurate, support the work behind it. Every like, every share, every contribution pushes this clarity further. This isn't about hype. It's about ending confusion where lies thrive. Now, here's the pull. From this point forward, the picture gets sharper. We're about to break this down, step by step, calmly, clearly, without emotion, without noise. And if you really are who this message is for, you'll feel it. That quiet pressure to stay. Not because you're curious, but because part of you already knows the truth is about to click. So take a breath, stay with me. Let's get into it. Number 1. They pushed the story too hard. When a lie needs effort, repetition, and a performance to survive, it's already dead. That's the part they never understood. They thought pushing harder would make the story stronger. They thought volume could replace truth. They thought if enough mouths repeated the same thing, reality would eventually tap out. Oh, look at them. Still trying, still pressing, still forcing. And that's exactly why it collapsed. They pushed the story too hard, and in doing so, they exposed themselves. Here's the dirty little secret of lies. Lies are fragile. They can't breathe on their own. They need drama, emotion, outrage, urgency. They need someone pacing the room, raising their voice, looking stressed while explaining why you're the problem. Truth doesn't do that. Truth sits back. Truth doesn't rush. Truth doesn't need a sales pitch. And the moment they started overselling the story, people felt it in their bones. Not logically at first, instinctively. Think about it like this, chosen one. Imagine someone grabbing you by the shoulders, shaking you, yelling, "Trust me, trust me, trust me." You wouldn't trust them, you'd pull away. Now imagine someone standing quietly across the room, calm, steady, not asking for anything. That person feels safe. That person feels real. That's the difference they accidentally created between you and them. They emptied the whole bottle of cheap perfume. One spray already stinks. They bathed in it, and people noticed. Not because they're geniuses, because humans are wired to detect pressure. Pressure signals insecurity. Pressure signals motive. Pressure signals fear. And fear never convinces anyone who's paying attention. Here's a fact they hate. The human brain has a built-in alarm for forced narratives. When a story is repeated too often, especially with emotional charge, the brain stops absorbing the content and starts analyzing the intent. Instead of thinking, is this true? People start thinking, why are they trying so hard? That question is lethal. Once it appears, the lie starts bleeding out. You probably felt this shift before you could explain it. The way conversations changed, the way people went quiet instead of nodding, the way responses became shorter, the way eye contact lingered a second longer than usual. That's not support for them. That's evaluation. That's people stepping back and reassessing who they're actually dealing with. Oh, look at them. They thought urgency would scare people into agreement. They thought anger would make them look righteous. They thought repeating your name would shrink you. What actually happened is that they trained the room to associate your name with their instability. Every mention came with tension. Every accusation came with emotion, and emotion without evidence always looks suspicious. This is where your power comes in, chosen one. You didn't push back. You didn't counterattack. You didn't flood the air with explanations. That wasn't weakness. That was restraint. And restraint is something only powerful people can afford. Weak people rush to defend. Strong people let patterns speak. Look at history. The people who last are never the loudest in the moment. Steve Jobs didn't chase critics every time Apple was doubted. Elon Musk didn't stop moving forward every time headlines mocked him. Rihanna didn't respond to every rumor to protect her image. They let consistency crush the noise. They understood something your enemies don't. If you keep building, talking becomes irrelevant. Here's the question some chosen ones ask at this stage. Should I say something? Should I clear my name? And here's the cold answer. You only explain yourself to people who already respect you. Everyone else is just looking for more material. The moment you engage emotionally, you feed the story. You give it oxygen. Silence starves it. Your enemies pushed because they were scared. Scared that without pressure, without repetition, without manipulation, their version of reality wouldn't survive on its own. And they were right. The story couldn't stand. That's why they leaned on it so hard, it cracked. Another truth bomb. Repetition creates familiarity, not belief. People might hear a lie many times, but belief only forms when behavior matches the claim. And your behavior didn't match their story. You stayed calm. You stayed focused. Your life didn't collapse. Your energy didn't rot. You didn't spiral. That mismatch is impossible to ignore. They tried to paint you as unstable while acting unstable themselves. They tried to frame you as dangerous while behaving recklessly. They tried to make you look obsessed while mentioning you every chance they got. That irony didn't go unnoticed. It never does. Chosen one, this is what being chosen actually looks like. Not applause, not instant validation, pressure, observation, resistance. You get tested not because you're weak, but because you're visible. And when you pass the test by not reacting, by not shrinking, by not turning bitter, something shifts. The crowd stops watching the performance and starts watching the performer. Oh, look at them now, slowing down, changing tone, backtracking, adding disclaimers. That's not confidence, that's damage control. Lies get heavier the longer they're carried. Truth gets lighter with time. And right now, the weight difference is obvious. You might wonder, Why does this feel delayed? Because exposure doesn't happen loudly, it happens internally first, in private thoughts, in silent judgments, in the slow withdrawal of trust. People don't announce when they stop believing someone, they just stop listening. And once listening is gone, the game is over. They pushed the story too hard because they didn't understand you. They thought pressure would fold you. They didn't realize pressure reveals structure, and all it revealed was that you're solid while their story was hollow. So let them push, let them repeat, let them perform. Every extra word is another crack. Every emotional outburst is another clue. You don't need revenge. You don't need exposure. You just need time and composure. Because when a lie needs force to survive, it's already finished. And when you don't push back, you don't lose. You win quietly. Number 2. People watch faces before words. You can lie with your mouth, but your face will snitch on you every single time. That's the part they didn't plan for. They spent all their energy rehearsing the story, polishing the words, lining up the accusations like props on a stage, but they forgot the first rule of human nature. People don't believe words first. They believe faces, tone, eyes, posture, micro-reactions. Oh, look at them, talking so confidently while their body is screaming panic. Before anyone accepts a story, they scan the person telling it, not consciously, not like a checklist, but instinctively. Is their smile relaxed or tight? Are their eyes steady or darting? Is their voice calm or sharp? Is there ease, or is there tension leaking out everywhere? Humans have done this for thousands of years. Long before language, survival depended on reading intent. That instinct never left, and your enemies underestimated it. Now imagine this for a moment. Chosen one. 2 people walk into a room. One starts explaining something with clenched jaws, raised eyebrows, and a voice that keeps spiking like it's trying to convince itself. The other says very little, sits comfortably, breathes normally, and doesn't rush. Who do you trust? You don't even need to think about it. Your body decides before your mind catches up. That's how fast this happens. Here's a fact that hits hard. Studies on deception show that people who lie often over-control their words, but lose control of their expressions. Forced smiles linger too long. Anger flashes too quickly. Eye contact becomes either excessive or avoidant. The liar doesn't notice, but everyone else does. Not clearly, not verbally, but enough to feel uneasy. And unease is where belief dies. Oh, look at them. They thought the story was the weapon. They didn't realize their own face was the evidence. Every time they mentioned your name, something shifted. Their tone sharpened. Their shoulders tightened. Their breath changed. That emotional spike told the truth louder than their words ever could. Calm people don't react like that. Secure people don't carry that much tension about someone else. This is where your power shows again. You didn't have to act. You didn't have to perform innocence. You just existed the same way you always do. That consistency is deadly to liars, because when people compare expressions over time, patterns emerge. And patterns don't lie. Think about famous examples. Watch old interviews of people later exposed for fraud or manipulation. The words sound fine. The delivery doesn't. Something always feels off. Compare that to leaders who are grounded, even under pressure. Same questions, same heat. Completely different energy. One leaks fear. The other leaks certainty. Audiences feel it instantly. Here's the question some chosen ones silently ask here. What if people still listen to them? They might listen for a moment. Humans are polite, curious, sometimes entertained by drama. But belief doesn't stick where the face doesn't match the message. That's why smear campaigns burn hot and die fast. They can grab attention, but they can't hold trust. Your enemies mistook attention for influence. Big mistake. Attention is cheap, trust is expensive, and trust is built on consistency, not performance. The more emotional they became, the more their credibility drained. The calmer you stayed, the heavier your presence felt. Weight beats noise every time. Another truth bomb. Anger doesn't look strong unless it's justified and controlled. Uncontrolled anger looks like fear trying to disguise itself. People know this intuitively. That's why angry storytellers always lose the room eventually. Rage shortens attention spans. Calm extends them. Oh, look at them again. Notice how their expressions change when they realize people aren't reacting the way they expected. The smile drops too fast. The eyes harden. The voice tightens. That moment right there is when belief snaps. Because real confidence doesn't monitor reactions. It doesn't need approval in real time. You, on the other hand, weren't scanning faces for validation. You weren't adjusting your tone to win anyone over. You weren't tracking who believed what. That detachment read as confidence, and confidence is contagious. People relax around it. They trust it. They follow it quietly. Here's another uncomfortable fact for them. When someone keeps telling a story with visible emotion, listeners start assuming personal motive. Why does this bother them so much? Why are they still upset? Why can't they let it go? Those questions don't help the storyteller. They bury them. Being chosen doesn't mean being loud. It means being readable in the right way. Your face told one story, theirs told another, and when people had to choose which one to believe, they went with the one that felt stable. You might think this all sounds subtle. It is, and that's why it's effective. Influence doesn't come from dramatic moments. It comes from tiny impressions stacking over time. Every interaction, every glance, every reaction. You won without arguing because you didn't trigger doubt. They lost because they couldn't stop leaking it. They believed if they controlled the words, they controlled the truth. That's child logic. Adults know better. Adults read faces. Adults read energy. Adults read consistency. And adults don't trust people who look like they're fighting a story instead of living one. So when you wonder why the lies aren't sticking, this is why. People saw the shaky eyes, the forced smiles, the angry tone, the emotional spikes, and they compared it to your steady presence. No contest. Let them keep talking if they want. Every sentence gives their face another chance to betray them. You don't need to outspeak them. You already out-exist them, because words can lie, faces can't. Number 3. Desperation is obvious, even to kids. The moment someone needs you to look bad, they already lost. That's the truth they choke on. Desperation is loud, clumsy, and embarrassing. Even kids can spot it. You don't need a degree, life experience, or wisdom to feel when something's off. When someone keeps pushing a narrative, keeps circling your name, keeps trying to steer how others see you, it screams one thing and one thing only: fear. Oh, look at them, campaigning like it's an election nobody asked for. Normal people don't behave like this. Secure people don't wake up thinking about how to ruin someone else's image. Confident people don't rehearse stories. Balanced people don't gather allies just to talk trash. When someone needs you to look bad in order to feel okay about themselves, the desperation leaks out of every word, every post, every sideways comment. And the universe doesn't hide that kind of energy. it puts it on display. Now imagine this, chosen one. Picture a kid on a playground yelling, "Don't play with them, they're bad," over and over. At first, other kids pause. Then they start wondering, "Why are you so worried about who we play with?" That's exactly how adults process desperation too. Different setting, same instinct. Obsession makes people suspicious, always has, always will. Here's a fact that slaps. In social psychology, excessive persuasion triggers resistance. The harder someone tries to control perception, the more people push back internally. They might not argue, they might not confront, but trust quietly dissolves. That's why smear campaigns collapse. They require effort, and effort exposes motive. Oh, look at them again. Watch how they can't stop, how your name keeps slipping out, how they justify why they're only telling the truth. That explaining, that's not honesty, that's panic. Truth doesn't need backup dancers, lies do. This is where your role as the chosen one becomes obvious. You didn't chase control. You didn't need to dominate the narrative. You trusted the universe to handle the balance while you handled your peace. And the universe loves calm confidence. It amplifies it. While desperation repels, composure attracts. People gravitate towards stability without even realizing why. You might be thinking, but what if they convince someone? Maybe they do, briefly. Desperation can fool the distracted, but it never fools the observant, and the observant always shape the room in the long run. Loud people burn out. Grounded people endure. Here's another truth bomb. Campaigning against someone automatically elevates them. It tells the world they matter. Nobody wastes energy attacking nobodies. The enemy tried to shrink you and accidentally confirmed your importance. That irony is brutal. So let them keep pushing. Every extra effort sharpens the contrast. You stay still, you stay clean, you let the universe handle the exposure, because desperation isn't just obvious, it's self-destructive, and everyone sees it, even kids. Number 4. You didn't react, and that broke them. Silence is what happens when you stop feeding monsters. That's the move they never planned for. They had a whole script ready. Tears, rage, long explanations, emotional breakdowns they could point at and say, "See, we were right. Oh, look at them," waiting for fireworks that never came. You didn't react. And that single choice shattered their entire strategy. When someone is lying, they need reaction. They need you loud, emotional, defensive, or angry. Reaction gives them proof, fuel, and entertainment all at once. It validates the lie. It keeps the story alive. And when you didn't give them any of that, the room went quiet in a way that made them deeply uncomfortable. Silence doesn't argue. Silence doesn't explain. Silence lets people think. And thinking is deadly for liars. Now imagine this, chosen one. Picture someone throwing punches at the air, swinging hard, expecting resistance. And suddenly, nothing. No block, no counter, just empty space. They stumble, lose balance, feel stupid. That's what silence does. It removes the opponent from the fight and leaves the attacker exposed, flailing, and confused. Here's a fact that hits. Emotional reactions increase perceived guilt, even when someone is innocent. Studies show that people who over-defend are seen as less credible than those who stay calm. Why? Because calm signals confidence. Calm says, "I don't need to convince you." And nothing rattles a liar more than someone who doesn't need validation. Oh, look at them now. They expected chaos. They got peace. They expected drama. They got stillness. And that forced them to keep talking on their own, explaining things nobody asked about, adding details nobody requested. That's when cracks widen. Silence turns the spotlight around. This is where the universe stepped in quietly on your behalf. The universe favors balance, not noise. When you chose restraint, you aligned with stability, and stability always wins in the long run. While they burned energy trying to provoke you, the universe conserved yours. You stayed centered. They spiraled. You might have wondered, should I say something just once? And here's the brutal answer. The moment you break silence, you tell them it worked. You tell them they reached you. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is a boundary, and boundaries terrify people who rely on control. They wanted tears. Tears mean leverage. They wanted rage. Rage means chaos they can point at. They wanted explosions. Explosions distract from truth. You gave them nothing. And nothing is the one thing liars can't manipulate. Watch how desperation increases when silence stays intact. Louder accusations, bigger emotions, more dramatic language. That escalation isn't strength, it's panic. When someone keeps poking a wall that doesn't move, they start questioning themselves. That's the break. Being chosen doesn't mean reacting faster. It means reacting smarter. You understood something instinctively. Peace starves nonsense. Silence lets the universe rearrange the room in your favor. And now they're stuck with their own noise, echoing back at them, talking, explaining, repeating, while you move forward untouched. You didn't react. And that's exactly why they broke. Number 5. The crowd started asking, why? The moment the question changes from what to why, the lie starts dying. That shift right there is fatal. That's the crack they can't patch. At first, the crowd listens out of curiosity. Humans are wired that way. New story, raised voices, emotional tone. Fine. But then something changes. Slowly, quietly. The question stops being, what did you do? And becomes, why are they so obsessed with you? Oh, look at them, still talking, not realizing the room already moved on. This is where desperation officially turns against them. Because once people start asking why, they're no longer absorbing the story. They're analyzing the storyteller. Motive enters the chat, and motive is the enemy of manipulation. Now imagine this, chosen one. You're watching someone rant about another person for the 5th time. Same topic, same anger, same intensity. At first, you nod politely. Then your brain goes, wait, why does this bother them so much? That moment, right there, is the spell breaking. No argument needed, no defense required, just awareness. And awareness spreads faster than lies ever do. Here's a fact that seals it. In social dynamics, obsession is read as insecurity. When someone can't let go, can't move on, can't stop mentioning the same person, listeners subconsciously downgrade their authority. Power doesn't fixate. Confidence doesn't chase. Stable people don't orbit around someone they claim doesn't matter. Oh, look at them now. Every new accusation makes the question louder. Why are they still talking? Why can't they drop it? Why does this feel personal? Those questions don't help them. They poison the ground beneath their feet. Because once people suspect personal motive, credibility collapses. This is where the universe quietly had your back. You didn't push the story. You didn't keep bringing it up. You didn't relive it publicly. That absence created contrast. While they circled the same narrative, you moved forward. Motion versus fixation. Growth versus obsession. The universe always amplifies forward motion. You might wonder, but what if some people still believe them? Some will, temporarily. There are always those who confuse noise with truth. But the crowd that matters, the ones who think, observe, and influence others, they're already past belief. They're evaluating intent now, and once intent is questioned, the game is over. Here's another truth bomb. People who are genuinely wronged want resolution. People who are lying want control. That's the difference everyone eventually feels. Your enemies didn't want closure, they wanted dominance. And dominance always exposes itself through obsession. Being chosen doesn't mean everyone instantly understands you. It means the right questions eventually get asked. And when "why are they so obsessed with you" enters the room, the verdict is already forming. They thought attention was power. They didn't realize scrutiny was coming with it. And scrutiny is undefeated. Number 6. The more they talked, the dumber it sounded. Lies don't fall apart all at once. They rot out loud. That's exactly what happened. The more they talked, the worse it sounded. Not dramatic, not explosive, just sloppy. Same story, but somehow different every time. Extra details that didn't exist before. Timelines that slid around like they were on ice. Tone switching from confident to angry, to defensive to joking. Oh, look at them. Improvising in real time, hoping nobody notices the cracks. Here's the part they underestimated. People don't need to be geniuses to detect nonsense. They just need consistency, and consistency was the one thing they couldn't maintain. Truth stays boring because it stays the same. Lies get creative because they have to. Every time they opened their mouth, they were patching holes instead of standing on solid ground. That's not storytelling, that's damage control. Now imagine this, chosen one. Imagine someone telling you a story today, then telling it again tomorrow with small corrections. At first, you shrug it off. Then the changes stack up. Details move, emotions shift. The confidence disappears. Suddenly, you're not listening to the story anymore. You're tracking the errors. That's exactly where the crowd went. Once people start mentally fact-checking, belief is gone. Here's a hard fact. Human memory doesn't store lies well. Truth aligns with lived experience, so it stays stable. Lies are constructed, so they degrade under repetition. That's why interrogations work. That's why cross-examinations work. And that's why smear campaigns implode when the liar can't stop talking. They forget what version they sold last time. Oh, look at them again. One day, calm, the next, furious. One moment, certain, the next, hedging. That's not what I meant. You misunderstood. Let me clarify. Every clarification screams weakness. Strong truths don't need footnotes. This is where your role as the chosen one becomes undeniable. You didn't keep explaining, you didn't keep correcting, you didn't adjust your tone to manage perception. You stayed the same energy, same posture, same life direction. That stability became your silent testimony. While they were busy editing the story, you were busy existing. You might have asked yourself, do people really notice these things? Yes, quietly, internally. People might not call it out, but they feel it. And once someone feels inconsistency, they stop trusting everything that comes after. The lie doesn't just weaken, it poisons the speaker. Here's another truth bomb. The longer someone talks without being challenged, the more they reveal. Silence is a mirror, and when liars talk into a mirror, they see themselves slipping. That's why they start over-explaining. That's why they speed up or slow down. That's why the tone wobbles. They feel the room changing. The universe handled this part beautifully. You didn't need exposure. You didn't need confrontation. Time and repetition did the work. The universe let them talk themselves into irrelevance while you stayed anchored. People aren't stupid. They might be patient, they might be polite, but they notice when a story stops making sense. And once it sounds dumb, it can never sound true again. They talked, they slipped, you stayed solid, and that's how the lie died. Number 7. Gossip makes the speaker look dirty. The mouth that gossips always stains itself first. That's the rule they thought they could dodge. They couldn't. Gossip doesn't make the target look bad. It makes the speaker look small, messy, and untrustworthy. Everyone knows this. Even the ones nodding along know it. They just wait for proof. And proof always shows up when someone can't keep another person's name out of their mouth. Oh, look at them, whispering like it's a strategy, leaning in, lowering their voice, acting like they're sharing important information. That behavior alone tells the truth. Secure people don't gossip. Focused people don't gossip. People who are winning don't gossip. Gossip is what happens when someone has nothing real to build, so they try to tear something down instead. Now imagine this. Chosen one. You're in a room, and someone starts trashing a person who isn't there. At first, it feels like bonding. Then, a quiet thought creeps in. If they're saying this about them, what are they saying about me? That thought never leaves. Once it appears, trust is poisoned permanently. That's how gossip backfires, not loudly, internally. Here's a fact that hits hard. Research on workplace and social trust shows that habitual gossipers are rated as less competent and less reliable over time, even when the gossip is true. Why? Because people associate gossip with poor judgment and low self-control. The message doesn't matter, the behavior does, and the behavior screams insecurity. They thought talking behind your back would shrink you. What it did was put a spotlight on their character. Every whisper added grime. Every just between us moment chipped away at their credibility. Meanwhile, you stayed clean. Not perfect, clean, and clean always stands out next to dirty. This is where the universe steps in quietly but decisively. The universe exposes through contrast. While they were busy talking about you, you were busy living. While they were recycling stories, you were building consistency. That contrast made the gossip obvious. You didn't have to point it out. People felt it. You might have wondered, why don't people shut them down? Because most people don't confront gossip directly. They file it away, they remember it. And when the moment comes to choose who to trust, who to support, who to believe, the gossiper always loses. Always. That's the delayed justice they never see coming. Oh, look at them now. Notice how their circle doesn't feel safe anymore. Conversations feel guarded. People share less. Trust thins out. That's not bad luck. That's consequence. Gossip rots communities from the inside, starting with the one spreading it. Being chosen means you didn't stoop. You didn't trade dignity for momentary relief. You understood something instinctively. Silence keeps you clean. Gossip makes you filthy. Let them keep talking. Every word stains them deeper. You stay untouched. Number 8. Your calm made them look unhinged. Calm doesn't argue, calm exposes. That contrast right there destroyed them. You stayed steady, same energy, same pace, same presence, and they started unraveling in real time. Voices getting sharper, movements getting faster, emotions leaking everywhere. Oh, look at them, spinning, pacing, reacting, trying to manage how they look while you didn't manage anything at all. You just existed, and that was enough. Here's the truth they hate admitting. Calm is interpreted as confidence by the human brain, always. It signals safety, control, and credibility. Frantic behavior signals threat, instability, and fear. This isn't opinion, it's biology. Our nervous systems are wired to trust whoever looks grounded during chaos. That's why leaders stay composed in emergencies. That's why pilots speak slowly during turbulence. And that's why your calm made their panic look unhinged. Now imagine this, chosen one. Two people in a crisis. One starts shouting, over-explaining, reacting to every little thing. The other breathes, listens, responds, slowly, if at all. Who do you instinctively trust? Who feels like they know what they're doing? Your body answers before your mind does. That's the advantage you held without even trying. Oh, look at them again. The more they tried to provoke you, the more their behavior escalated. That escalation wasn't strength, it was exposure. When someone can't stay regulated around you, it tells everyone watching that you have power over them, even if you never touched them. Even if you never spoke their name. This is where the universe quietly backed you. The universe amplifies balance. When one side stays centered and the other destabilizes, the imbalance becomes obvious. You didn't need to prove innocence. Your nervous system did the work. You didn't need to claim control. Their loss of it proved yours. You might have wondered, why do they seem so bothered while I feel fine? Because calm threatens people who rely on chaos. Calm removes leverage. It gives them nothing to push against. And when someone can't move you emotionally, they lose the only tool they had. Here's another hard truth. People don't consciously say, I trust the calm one. They just feel it. And feelings drive decisions long before logic catches up. That's why conversations shifted in your favor without announcements. That's why support quietly leaned toward you. That's why their reactions started looking exaggerated and embarrassing. Being chosen doesn't mean being louder, it means being heavier, more grounded, more stable. Your calm didn't just protect you, it reflected them, and they didn't like what they saw. Guess who people trust when things get messy? Not the one losing control, the one who never needed it. Number 9. The veil lifted, no magic required. Truth doesn't need special effects, it just needs time. That's the part that ruins the fantasy for them. No magic moment, no dramatic reveal, no lightning bolt exposing the villain, just time doing what time always does, letting people watch, letting patterns repeat, letting behavior speak louder than any story ever could. Oh, look at them. Still waiting for some big event to flip things back in their favor, not realizing the veil already lifted quietly. They thought exposure would be loud. They thought it would come with shock and chaos. That's movie logic. Real life is colder than that. In real life, truth shows up through observation. People notice who stays the same and who keeps changing, who moves forward and who stays stuck, who lives calmly and who lives in reaction mode. No rituals, no signs, just consistency versus performance. Now imagine this, chosen one. You're watching a long TV series, same characters, same setting. Over time, you don't need a narrator to tell you who's lying. You see it. One character keeps rewriting their story. Another stays the same. One overreacts, another doesn't flinch. Eventually, you don't even debate it anymore. You know, that's exactly how the veil lifted here. Here's a fact that backs this up hard. Humans are pattern-detecting machines. We evolved to survive by spotting inconsistencies over time. That's why short-term lies can work, but long-term deception almost never does. The brain keeps score even when people aren't aware of it. Tone, timing, behavior, reactions. It all gets logged. And when the pattern doesn't align, belief quietly dissolves. Oh, look at them now. Still trying to add drama. Still exaggerating. Still hoping emotion will distract from the lack of substance. But drama only works once. After that, it feels fake. Truth doesn't raise its voice. Truth doesn't rush. Truth just stays available for anyone willing to look. This is where the universe handled things perfectly. You didn't force clarity, you allowed it. You let time stretch the contrast until it became obvious. The universe favors patience because patience exposes reality without resistance. While they chased control, you stayed present, and presence always wins. You might have asked yourself, when will people finally see it? They already have. Seeing doesn't always come with announcements. Most realizations happen quietly, in private thoughts, in subtle changes, in who people choose to listen to, trust, and support. That's why it feels anticlimactic. But anticlimactic doesn't mean ineffective. It means final. Here's another truth bomb. Drama is a signal that something is being hidden. Calm is a signal that nothing needs protection. Once people feel that difference, they don't go back. You can't unsee patterns. You can't unknow consistency. They wanted fireworks. They got silence. They wanted confusion. They got clarity. No magic required. Just time doing what it does best. Number 10. People stopped nodding and started watching. The quiet room is every liar's worst nightmare. That's the moment everything shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a subtle change in the air. The nodding stopped. The fake smiles faded. People leaned back instead of leaning in. Oh, look at them, still talking, not realizing the audience already switched roles. They thought the crowd was agreeing. The crowd was actually watching. Here's what liars never understand. Nods don't mean belief. Smiles don't mean support. Most people nod to be polite. They smile to avoid conflict. But when people believe you, they relax. When they don't, they observe. And observation is dangerous territory for anyone running on nonsense. Now imagine this. Chosen one, you're in a room where someone is telling a story they've told too many times. At first, people nod out of habit. Then something feels off. The nods slow. The smiles freeze. The room gets quiet. That quiet isn't confusion, it's calculation. People are replaying what they've heard before, comparing versions, watching body language. That's when the liar starts sweating. This is backed by human behavior. When people stop reacting emotionally and start observing, persuasion is over. Emotion fuels belief. Observation fuels judgment. And judgment doesn't need words. It just needs time. Oh, look at them in that moment. They sense it. The energy shift. That's when they talk faster. Add jokes. Add drama. Change tone. Ask rhetorical questions. Anything to get the nods back. That scramble isn't confidence. That's panic. Because silence forces accountability. Meanwhile, you stayed exactly the same. You didn't fill the silence. You didn't rush to reassure anyone. You let the quiet exist. And that quiet worked in your favor. The universe loves stillness because stillness reveals truth without resistance. While they were trying to control the room, you let the room decide. You might wonder, why didn't anyone defend me out loud? Because public confrontation isn't how belief shifts. Belief shifts privately first. People don't announce when they stop trusting someone. They simply stop following their lead. They stop echoing their words. They stop nodding. Here's another hard truth. Once people start watching instead of reacting, the liar is finished. Every blink becomes suspicious. Every pause gets noticed. Every contradiction stands out. There's no coming back from that. You can't talk your way out once scrutiny replaces sympathy. Being chosen means you don't need instant validation. You can sit in the quiet without fear. You trust the universe to rebalance perception naturally, and it always does. The nodding stopped. The watching began. And that's when everything ended for them. Number 12. Now they're stuck with their own image. You don't escape the image you create, you live inside it. And that's where they're trapped now. While you kept moving, growing, breathing freely, they stayed behind, stuck holding the version of themselves they accidentally revealed. Oh, look at them, messy, bitter, defensive, trying to explain why they look the way they do now. Oops, that wasn't part of their plan. Here's the brutal truth. You don't need to expose anyone. People expose themselves over time, through tone, through behavior, through obsession, through how they react when things don't go their way. You walked away clean because you didn't drag yourself through the mud with them. They stayed in it, rolled around in it, and now they smell like it. This is how image really works, not through words, but through patterns. People remember how someone made them feel: tense, uneasy, drained, or calm, grounded, safe. Your presence stayed light. Theirs grew heavy. That difference stuck. And once an image settles in the collective mind, it's almost impossible to scrub off. Now imagine this, chosen one. Picture two people leaving a building after chaos. One walks out quietly, dusts themselves off, and keeps going. The other stays behind yelling about what happened, blaming everyone, replaying the moment over and over. Days later, who looks composed? Who looks stuck in the past? That's exactly how this played out. Here's a fact that seals it. In social dynamics, reputation hardens faster after conflict than during peace. Moments of pressure reveal character more clearly than years of calm. Your character showed restraint, stability, and self-respect. Theirs showed fixation, emotional volatility, and lack of control. No PR can undo that. Oh, look at them now. They try to move on, but the image follows. People don't trust them the same way. Conversations feel guarded. Their words carry less weight. That's not punishment. That's consequence. The universe doesn't need to be dramatic. It just balances the scales quietly. You might wonder, why do I feel lighter now? Because you're no longer carrying someone else's chaos. You chose distance. You chose peace. And the universe rewards alignment. While they replay old narratives, you're already in a new chapter. Being chosen doesn't mean everyone claps for you. It means you leave situations with your integrity intact. You did that. They didn't. And now the contrast is permanent. You walked away clean. They're stuck with their own image, and that's the part they can't escape. So now you see it clearly. Not through emotion, not through noise, but through pattern, behavior, and time. You didn't win by fighting. You won by standing still while the universe did the sorting. The lies faded. The truth stayed. and the roles flipped without an announcement. That's power. If this message connected, lock it in, hit like so it reaches the ones still doubting themselves. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Drop 777 in the comments as a signal that you see the game now. And share this with someone who needs clarity. Stay grounded, stay silent. Let the universe keep working.